Okay, we're getting ready to start the program, so those of you, if you could gather around, we'll get started. So please come join. There's some seats, not many, but there's some seats available, so we can get started. All right, I think we're about ready. So good evening, everyone. I'm Ramiro Salazar, Director of the San Antonio Public Library System. I want to welcome all of you. Thank you so much. Thank you to the grand opening of the brand new Latino Collection and Resource Center. Before we start, I would like to ask for a moment of silence for those individuals that were impacted by the earthquake in Mexico City. So just please give us a moment of silence before we start. Thank you. I want to first extend a special welcome to our two elected officials, Mayor Ron Nirenberg, over here, and Congressman Lloyd Doggett. We look forward to hearing from you shortly. We also have City Manager Cheryl Scully, who's here in the audience. Cheryl, thank you for coming. So indeed, this is a very special day for the community and for me as well as your library director. It has been a privilege to work on this project. We're now activating and celebrating this evening. It has been 20 years in the making, and the timing couldn't be more perfect as we celebrate National Hispanic Heritage Month. And I'm going to ask for your indulgence because there's a story to be told about this project, and I want to do it justice. So with your indulgence, let me tell you about this journey to where we are now celebrating this wonderful space. It started in 1995 when a group of interested individuals appealed to the Library Board of Trustees to establish a Latino collection because the Library Board at that time shared, as today, the group's vision to create a collection which would speak to and celebrate the many contributions of Latinos in American culture. They agreed to establish the Latino collection in the brand new Central Library. We felt it would be appropriate to acknowledge that group. And if you look at your programs, in the back of the program, we have acknowledged that group of individuals that made an effort, that were motivated to go before the board and ask for the establishment of a Latino collection. And I know we have several here. We have Rosie Castro, who was part of that group. Marisa Bono and Bryce Milligan. Thank you. I'm not sure if there are any others that are here that I didn't get a chance to note, but I'd like to thank them because it started with their passion to create, again, a collection that spoke to the community that we serve. Thank you so much for that group, for their advocacy efforts. After the Latino collection was established, then a group was formed under the auspices of the San Antonio Public Library Foundation called the Latino Leadership for the Library Committee, also known as the L3 Committee. We often talk about the L3 Committee. The mission of this committee was to advocate for library services to Latinos and for the creation of a special home for the Latino collection at the brand new Central Library. The L3 Committee envisioned a designated space which could support programs, workshops, lectures, art exhibits, and other activities to enlighten the community of the many contributions made by Latinos. During my 12 years, almost 13, here as library director, I have had the privilege of working with the L3 Committee, and at this time I would like to publicly acknowledge their hard work and their advocacy. So thank you, members of the L3 Committee. There are many that are here. Thank you so much for your hard work, and thank you for sharing this celebration with us. And of course, with any great things, there were others that were involved in realizing this significant project. So with your indulgence, again, I would like to thank and acknowledge those who played a role in this project. I'll start with the San Antonio Public Library Foundation, in particular the staff, Tracy Bennett, President and CEO. Tracy, where are you? And Lacey Fisher. Lacey, where are you, Lacey? They're over there. They coordinated the efforts to raise half of the construction cost to help transform. This used to be the teen library, for those that may remember the space. And with the help of the Library Foundation in the city of San Antonio, we were able to transform the space. You'll get to see some of the wonderful space later. So again, thank you to the San Antonio Public Library Foundation for their efforts to raise money and to coordinate that process. I also want to acknowledge Jordan Vexler Shannon. At that time, she was the chair of the L3 committee. She is now the chair of the Library Foundation. So Jordan, thank you so much for your leadership. Where are you, Jordan? Thank you so much. And I must also acknowledge our 4 literary champions. These are individuals that I approached and I asked, can you support and help this project? They immediately said yes. They loaned their name to help the fundraising effort. And all of them are accomplished, award-winning authors and scholars who have made many contributions to the educational and literary arenas. San Antonio is extremely fortunate to call this literary champions as our very own. It is my pleasure to acknowledge them, and they're here. I'll start with Lorianne Guerrero. Lorianne, thank you. John Philip Santos, I know John is here. Dr. Carmen Tafoya. And Dr. Tomás Ybarra Frausto. And one of the great things we did is we used their images to inspire those that visit this special area to not only read, but to write and create. So thank you so much to our literary champions who loaned their name and supported our efforts to raise funds. I also want to thank the many donors who contributed to this project. There were many, and we have created a donor wall that acknowledges all the donors. And well, I'm going to have to say it. I have to acknowledge and recognize my wife. It was on her own initiative that, no, she raised over $60,000 for this project on her own. So, I'm so blessed to have her as my wife, so thank you, Citlali. I also want to thank Drs. Ricardo and Harriet Romo for donating the art that you will experience when you go into the gallery shortly. Thank you to the Romos. And of course, none of this would be possible without the tremendous support of library staff. Many have worked behind the scenes. This includes our maintenance staff, capital projects team, our marketing team, our administrative team, our central library staff who relocated the collection. They just worked so hard. Over the weekend, I was here several times, and they were busy at work getting this space prepped and ready for you all to enjoy. So I feel very fortunate and blessed to have such a talented staff supporting our efforts. So thank you, staff. For those that are here, please raise your hand. So now moving forward with the program, I do want to acknowledge some special guests that are here with us today. I'll start with Councilman Ray Saldana, District 4, representing District 4. Councilman, thank you so much. Councilwoman Ana Sandoval, representing District 7. Again, I want to acknowledge our city manager, Cheryl Scully, for her continuous support of the library system. Thank you so much. Lori Houston, our assistant city manager, who provides also valuable support and let us do our own thing. Thank you so much, Lori. We greatly appreciate your support. Julian Castro, former Secretary of HUD and former Mayor of San Antonio. Our board chair, Paul Stahl, who's here. Paul. Immediate past chair, Jean Brady. Thank you, Jean. Thank you so much. Our mayoral appointee to the Library Board of Trustees, Judy Cruz. Thank you, Judy. Former City Council member, Mary Alice Cisneros, she's here. Thank you. We have quite a few members of the Library Foundation. I want to acknowledge all of you. Please raise your hands. Thank you so much for your continued support. Former City Manager J. Rolando Bono. Mr. Bono, thank you. Former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations and Economic and Social Council, Chihan Seif. Ambassador, thank you so much for being here. Anita Fernandez, representing District 123, Diego Bernals. For Diego Bernal. Thank you. So thank you so much for all of you. Now we will continue with the program. We have been very fortunate to have the support of city leadership, and I'm very honored tonight to have the opportunity to introduce our first speaker, Mayor Ron Nirenberg, who has been a great friend and supporter of the library, and we're pleased to have him here. Please help me welcome the mayor.
Well, good afternoon. Welcome, everyone, to our Central Library. You know, it has been said that the vision and values of a community can be seen through the evolution of its library. And so this very space and the evolution that it's already seen is very clear. And so first, I just want to say congratulations to Ramiro and his staff, as well as the San Antonio Library Foundation, all of its patrons, as well as the L3 committee. This is certainly a day worth celebrating. And this is a collection that I think will put our city on the leading edge of so many things. We want San Antonio, we know what San Antonio is. It is a city of the future, it's a city of the 21st century, and we are what the rest of America will look like. And so when we embrace that and we provide resources that will inspire a community, will inspire it through literacy and learning and through the spaces that they will come together and visit what we are, what we have been, and what we will be, it is certainly a day worth celebrating. So I am here on behalf of our City Council, and I appreciate my colleagues, Councilman Saldana and Councilwoman Sandoval, for joining us as well, and I tip my hat to the city leaders who have come before me, including the inaugural Poet Laureate, Dr. Carmen Tafoya, whose works continue to inspire us, and then, of course, my predecessor, and someone who really made this space a priority, not just for the city landscape, but for the learning of a new generation of San Antonians who will be leading the world, former Mayor Julian Castro. You know, I look forward to learning more about the events that are going to be held here, but certainly seeing the inspiration on the faces of those new authors, those new educators, and certainly those new students that will be gracing our new Central Library. Let's not forget that libraries first are on the written word found in those books that you turn the pages of. And so we thank Ramiro for his visionary leadership of this library, and we look forward to a very bright future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. It's an honor to have you with us this evening. Our next guest speaker has consistently been a pro-education advocate for Hispanics, Latinos, and other minorities. Congressman Lloyd Doggett has been recognized by Hispanic Chambers of Commerce as a leader in the Hispanic community, and in the current legislative year, he has co-sponsored legislation to honor the accomplishments of Latino leader and advocate Cesar Chavez. Furthermore, last year, he filed legislation honoring Hispanic Heritage Month and honoring Latino contributions. We are honored to have him this evening. Congressman.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, we all know that earthquakes like the tragic one today in Mexico City and hurricanes like those we have endured lately are among the many uncertainties of life, but one of the certain joys of life is found in the covers of a book, and that's what draws so many of us here as we explore other worlds. I salute you, Mayor, and your colleagues at the city for your commitment to this project. Certainly the Library Foundation, which I usually join here in April for the great San Antonio Book Festival, and Ramiro, whose words and voice this evening suggest that he not only offered expertise and leadership in building a great library team, but that he brought a great deal of passion to this particular project. Congratulations. This really is the type of public-private partnership that is working in so many areas so effectively to strengthen this community. And from my standpoint in Washington, it is a reminder, like the work of this library in not only here but in neighborhoods across the city, of the importance of maintaining what is really a fairly small institute of museum and library sciences, library services, that is the primary source of rather modest federal funding to back up special programs for libraries across the country, but was nevertheless on the chopping block earlier this year. As has been noted, it's especially appropriate that we're doing this during Hispanic Heritage Month. We opened some doors here to new cultural understandings for people of all ethnic backgrounds to come here, children, old and young alike, to learn about the contributions to our culture and to our community that our Hispanic neighbors have provided. I usually actually come here to the library for receptions and other types of public gatherings, as do many of you. But in Washington, my favorite building anywhere in the city is the Great Library of Congress. It's a beautiful structure. I like to go there to pick up books because there is just something about, though we get all our electronic news flashes, about holding a book and feeling it and recognizing that before there was texting, there were actually texts, and that there's some special value in doing that. So knowing that we've got here more than 10,000 volumes to offer us different aspects of the great diversity of Latino culture is very meaningful. And I think when you combine that with the kind of programming that will happen here in the gallery, the art, the performances, the poetry, Carmen, we really have something very special, and that each of these books, each of these performances can really serve as an ambassador for us. And goodness knows that with all of the misinformation this past year about walls instead of bridges, about criticism of Mexico and Mexicans, about the misinformation on our dreamers and immigrants generally from all parts of the world, we need more ambassadors and we need more insight. This is a great contribution to it. Congratulations to all of you.
Thank you, Congressman. Thank you for your continued support. I would like to recognize former council member and president of the Greater Chambers, Richard Perez. Thank you. Thank you for being here, Richard. I mentioned earlier the L3 committee. The current chair of that committee, and who is also a member of the San Antonio Public Library Foundation Board, is Dennis Martinez, and I would like to invite him to the podium to make some remarks. Dennis?
Well, this is indeed a wonderful day. I look around this room and I see many faces who are responsible for what we're celebrating today, and kudos to each of you. Mary Alice, it's too bad that Henry couldn't be here, who is the initiator of this, building this beautiful red enchilada, as we call it. But the red enchilada would never have been stuffed with the right ingredients until we opened this particular collection. And so I want to give hands to each of you, applause to you, but also applause to a great library director. Along with the best city manager in the country, we have the best library director in the country with Ramiro. So congratulations to all on tonight's opening. I look around the room and I see Ellen and Becky and Angelica and Kai and James and Margie and numerous others that were in the trenches from the very beginning, who still play an active role in our Library Foundation system. Each of those individuals being, including myself, being on the board in excess of 15 or 16 years. We are strong advocates and supporters of our library. But anyway, the realization of the space has been in our hearts for many years. And as our community grows, and as the mayor articulated earlier, the public library continues its mission of changing lives by developing innovative new ways for community engagement. Libraries are all about community engagement. And that's why the Latino Leadership Committee of the San Antonio Public Library Foundation has worked hard for over 20 years to advocate for this particular collection and resource center and bring greater awareness to our community and the whole community, not only the Latino community, about why this project is so important. I want to thank Judge Nelson Wolff, who was our mayor in 1995 when the Central Library was built, and championed this building as a community center. I want to thank our city manager, again, Cheryl Scully, who has made it a point to provide us more money every year, certainly during her tenure with our city, and we appreciate that, Cheryl, very, very much. Of course, we know that all the city council members that are here have to approve that, so we thank all you guys, too. And on behalf of the L3 Committee, a special thank you to all of our donors. If you see any donors whose names adorn the walls, please say thank you. This has been an ongoing collaborative effort, and we're proud to see your names here on our donor wall and throughout the spaces, the various members who wrote larger checks to underwrite rooms, conference rooms for meetings, once again, maintaining our community efforts. The fundraising for the center continues. I would be amiss if I did not remind you. I normally do stick your hand in the right hand and pull out money, but I won't do that. The Library Foundation will be hosting a very special event called the Katrina Ball on October 28th here in the space that you are walking on and in other areas of the building to raise funds for the Latino Collection and Resource Center programs. We've raised the dollars to build out this space, but it will be an ongoing effort, an initiative on part of the foundation and each of you to continue the program funding to keep and maintain and make this stronger. Program here is ongoing to include platicas with local authors and writing workshops throughout the year. We'd love your support and we'll invite you to the party with us for a great cause. There are tickets left, so please go online and buy them. We have provided printed invitations at the table for you this evening. We all look forward to seeing you involved in the programs for future events, and I thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you, Dennis. Before I introduce our guest speaker today, I do want to acknowledge one other individual. I would be remiss if I forget to acknowledge her, because she played a very important role in raising private dollars for actually building this wonderful building, the Central Library, which is home to the Latino Collection and Resource Center. So I would like to publicly acknowledge Maria Cosio Ameduri, who was the President and CEO of the San Antonio Public Library Foundation, for her efforts. Maria, thank you so much for contributing and for your support. Thank you. And she continues to work very hard as member of the L3 Committee. As previously mentioned, we are very fortunate to have the support of a very prestigious group of local literary champions that we can call our own because they're from San Antonio. Our guest speaker tonight, Dr. Tomás Ybarra y Frausto, is not only one of those champions, but he also contributed his personal collection of Latino-related books to the Latino collection here at the Central Library. He also has agreed to serve as our advisor as we explore opportunities to expand the vision for the Latino Collection and Resource Center. Dr. Ybarra y Frausto is a San Antonio resident and has served as Associate Director for Creativity and Culture at the Rockefeller Foundation in New York. Prior to joining the Rockefeller Foundation, Dr. Ybarra y Frausto was a tenured professor at Stanford University in the Department of Spanish and Portuguese. He has served as chair of the Mexican Museum in San Francisco, chair of the Smithsonian thank you, Council, and has written and published extensively on Latin American and U.S. Latin culture issues. In 2014, Dr. Ybarra Frausto donated hundreds of works of his personal collection, again, to this collection. So it's my honor and pleasure to introduce to you Dr. Tomás Ybarra Frausto.
Gracias. Buenas tardes. Good afternoon. Estoy muy agradecido y orgulloso. I'm very grateful and proud to participate in this joyful and historic celebration that inaugurates a state-of-the-art Latino collection and resource center. In a lifetime teaching the arts and humanities, I have concluded that culture is simply the stories we tell ourselves about ourselves. Latino literature is universal as it registers the foibles, dreams, and aspirations, as well as the anxieties and fears of the largest ethnic group in our country. There is growing awareness that Latino literature is American literature, and American literature is Latino literature. Together, both tell a more complete and complex, heterogeneous narrative of American society. In San Antonio, Mexican-American literature and culture form a taproot of the enchanting bicultural ambiente, forging a distinctive cosmopolitan city. Relocating and renovating the space for this impressive educational and cultural resource will encourage more patrons to explore and participate in a dynamic, multi-purpose activity center with quiet spaces for scholars to conduct research and dedicated areas for art exhibitions, authors' readings, lectures, y pláticas literarias. Overall, the Latino collection of nearly 10,000 books and monographs is a treasure trove of accessible information and knowledge. The collection is a guardian not only of our tangible heritage, the chronicle of working class life, of battles won and lost, and tales of those standing up for equity and social justice, but also depictions of intangible heritage, the structures of sentimiento and worldview found in our folklore and folkways, the folk wisdom held in the dichos and refranes of la gente, like, uno trabaja para vivir, no vive para trabajar. One works in order to live, one does not live in order to work. A pithy reminder of what matters in life. The Latino collection and allied public programs will maintain our San Antonio intellectual presence and add luster to the tricentennial commemorative offering. It allows us to show that San Antonio is the cultural capital of Mexican America. Hopefully, the motto of the resource center that was upstairs will be repainted on one of its walls. It is a marvelous quote from Jorge Luis Borges. Siempre imaginé el paraíso como una especie de biblioteca. I always imagine that paradise will be a kind of library. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Dr. Tomás, Ybarra, y Frausto. We're so fortunate to have you connected to the Latino Collection and Resource Center, and we look forward to working with you. Talking about working, I do want to introduce to you our coordinator, new coordinator, and first coordinator for the Latino Collection Resource Center, Emma Hernandez. She is dynamic, she's creative, she's going to do great things with our stakeholders. We're very pleased. We have a great party for you tonight. Special thanks to the Cortez Restaurant family for providing the refreshments and the food. Thank you, Charlotte and Lucas and Outcast for live streaming tonight's event. And we're very close to the festivities. We're going to do the ribbon cutting, so I'm going to ask members of the program to join me as we cut the ribbon, and we will invite you to the space behind the doors. Thank you all for coming.